begin our recording here. And this is our second session today, learning about Stark County and the partnerships it has with the other United Ways where they provide their 211 service. And I simply have my introduction up here as our little map just to give everybody a point of reference of where these counties are and kind of what we're taking on in terms of after hours. And Connie Alton is the person that's going to guide us through and teach us a lot about these counties. This morning's session was really helpful. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And then Connie's going to go ahead and accept it. I've got to find your name on here. Here we go. Okay, so I have made you presenter.
Okay. Somehow I was leaving the meeting. I'm sorry. That wouldn't have been good. Okay. My name is Connie Alton, and I am the Director of United Way 211 Information and Referral for Greater Stark County. With me are two members of my staff, Marion Cottrell-Neal, who is a resource specialist, and Nikki Hunt, who spends part of her time as a resource specialist and part of her time as an information and referral specialist. And they are going to handle the second part of this training session. The first part of the training session, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our call center, and then I'm going to talk about each county in a little bit more detail to hopefully give you a perspective and a familiarity with all those counties. Okay, United Way of Greater Stark County has been providing information and referral services to Stark County residents since 1972. We received the designation in 2001 and began providing 24/7 service. And we were accredited by Ohio Heirs in 2012. Our mission is to provide excellent customer service while helping people find the help they need when they need it. And I've listed the counties that we provide 211 services for. They are Stark, Carroll, Jefferson, Tuscarawas, Washington, Coshocton, and Harrison. This is what our current staff looks like. There are 9 of us in this organization, and 2 of the specialists are full-time employees, and everyone else works different hours part-time. What you're looking at now is the call breakdown by county. You can see that the bright yellow depicts 93% of the calls that we received in 2014 coming in from Stark County clients. 3% of the calls were from Jefferson County, followed by all the rest at 1%, except for Harrison County. And the data that I have for 2014 only reflects 2 months of calls coming in from Harrison County because we launched 211 services for them late October of 2014. Now I wanted to spend a minute talking about our emergency assistance programs. All this information is in the training documentation, but it's not necessary for you to know all the details. You just need to be aware that we have emergency assistance programs and what they are. so that you can then tell the callers who call in about these programs to call 211 Monday through Friday after 8:30 a.m. Now these emergency programs are, we provide rental and mortgage payment assistance, we provide utility assistance, we provide medical and prescription payment assistance. We also hand out starter transportation passes for people who need to ride the bus and can't afford it. And we hand out Walmart gift cards and Fisher food vouchers. Now those last three on the slide, starter transportation passes and the Walmart gift cards and the Fisher food vouchers, those are something that we really don't publicize much. And not a lot of people know about that. We do it on an as-needed basis because we just have a select few to hand out. So either it's a referral from another agency or somebody calls in and we recognize the need and we realize that we can help them. And then we'll bring them in and go through this. We have our own process in order to provide those for them. But in regards to the emergency assistance program, when they call in to 211 here in our office, we will screen them to see if they are eligible to receive the assistance. And for example, clients can only receive rental and utility payment assistance every 12 months. And they can receive up to $500 in rental payment assistance and up to $300 utility assistance. And like a client could come in today and receive both of those. But once we provide that, then they have to wait another 12 months before they can become eligible again. We also are partnering with Job and Family Services to administer the auto repair program. We've been doing this since 2013, whereby we can provide assistance up to $1,000 for a client or family to have their automobile repaired so that they can go to work and support their families. And there are requirements for this as well. And so if anybody calls in inquiring about the auto repair program, we would ask that you, again, refer them to call 211 Monday through Friday after 8:30 a.m.
Just as a point of clarity on that last screen, everything on that screen is listed in Refer except for the transportation assistance, the Walmart gift card, and the Fisher food voucher, correct?
Yes, and thank you for clarifying that. Thank you.
Sure.
It's not exactly.
So I have a question. So those services, those three things that Susan just mentioned, are not in the database. Is there a way to put them in there, perhaps in an unpublished section, so that we're aware that those exist? I mean, especially for those of us who will, not be working the off shifts too frequently. I'm just concerned that everybody's going to be able to remember that those exist if there's no way to access that information out of Refer.
Let me give that some thought. Those three voucher areas are ones that we don't normally, market or publish. We just know about them here internally that we can do that. So we're not readily offering it to our callers unless there's a real serious need that we identify.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I know that I know that when in our database here, we have some information in an unpublished section that's not something that's made public information on our website, but it's something that the INR specialists can read, and those are the only people that are reading that unpublished note. It's like a note to the people taking the calls like maybe some additional detail, or maybe like, for example, we've got some agencies that have an unpublished phone number, but it's there in the database in case the specialist needs to call on behalf of the client. But I'm just concerned if it's not anywhere in Refer, that if, especially those of us that don't work the off shifts too frequently, that nobody's going to remember that those are there. And I would hate for us to be telling someone no, that doesn't exist, if we have like a caseworker that's familiar with the program and familiar with how to access the service, and then
okay,
you know.
I see what you're saying and
Yeah.
what your concern is. So we'll work on that. Okay. Well,
Okay.
I'll look into it when our main resource database person returns, and she's on vacation right now.
I have a question. If someone should call and ask about it, though, they obviously know about it because clients do word of mouth, just still refer them today, right?
Yes, it'd be the same thing.
Okay.
When in
All
doubt,
right.
just refer them to call us, during the day. But like, for example, right now, I'm out of Walmart gift cards. I don't even have any because we gave so many away at Christmas time that we're just completely out. So again, it's not something that we consistently have or do. Okay, the next slide is, of course, ReferWeb. And what we have online actually lists all the counties that we provide 211 services for. The reason I have this slide is because I wanted to point out to you, just in case this comes up somehow in a conversation, that the age field is a required field now. And so a client cannot advance into ReferWeb without putting their age in there. Okay. Now I wanted to spend a little bit of time giving you some information about each of the counties. We'll start with Stark County, by far the largest county. And the population in Stark County is 375,000 people. It's 581 square miles. The county seat is Canton. And there are 3 primary urban areas: Canton, Massillon, and Alliance. And just some points of interest that I included is that the Pro Football Hall of Fame is located in Canton. We also have the William McKinley Presidential Library and Museum. We have 5 colleges and universities: Walsh, Kent Stark, Stark Technology, Malone, and Mount Union. And we're mixed within Amish country all around us. The percentage of the population in Stark County currently living in poverty is 15%, or 54,747 people. The unemployment rate is 6.3%. And in recent years, you probably already know about this, but several large companies have either moved, downsized, or outsourced many jobs. And so that's had a negative impact on the economy. Okay, moving into some numbers from the 2014 annual report. During 2014, we received 39,204 calls from Stark County clients. We made 68,171 referrals. The top needs were for food and meals, accounting for 17% of the calls, housing, also accounting for 17% of the calls, and utilities, accounting for 15% of the calls. The top unmet needs for that year were clothing, personal, household, housing, and utilities. The top zip codes for calls coming in were primarily from Canton: 44703, 44705, 44706, and 44707. And then for Massillon, The zip code was 44646. Top agencies that we received or that we referred our clients to were Catholic Charities serving Stark and Portage counties, Community Services of Stark County, United Way of Greater Stark County, Stark County Community Action, and Salvation Army of Canton. Does anyone have any questions about Stark County? Okay. Looking at Tuscarawas County, the population there is 93,000 people. It makes up 571 square miles. New Philadelphia is the county seat. It's primarily a rural community, and its economy has improved recently due to fracking and drilling. Currently, 14.6% of the population live in poverty, or 13,303 people. The unemployment rate currently is 6.6%. Some of the numbers from our annual report for Tuscarawas, where we took 946 calls from that county and made 1,464 referrals. The top needs from the calls coming in were for utility assistance. That accounted for 24% of the calls coming in from that county. And housing accounted for 22% of the calls coming in. Clothing, personal, household made up 8% of the calls. The top unmet needs in that county were for clothing, personal, household, housing, transportation, individual, family, and community support. The top zip codes for calls coming in came from New Philadelphia, 44663, Dover, 44622, Yerkesville, 44683, Denison, 44621, Newcomerstown, 43832. The top agency referrals made were to Harcattus Tri-County Community Action Organization, Tuscarawas County Council for Church and Community, Greater Dover, New Philadelphia Food Pantry, Goodwill Industries of Greater Cleveland and East Central Ohio, and Tuscarawas County Job and Family Services, or also known as T4C. And many times callers from that county will just call in and they'll ask about a service or a program at T4C. So it's important to know what that means. Any questions about Tuscarawas? Okay. Moving on to Jefferson County. The population there is 68,000 people, making up 411 square miles. Steubenville is the county seat. It's primarily a rural community. It was once a manufacturing community, but its population declined after manufacturing collapsed. It's a close-knit community, meaning that they tend to try and take care of each other and sometimes their own. The percentage of population currently living in poverty is 16.6%, or 11,092 people. And the unemployment rate is 8.9% currently. We received a total of 1,449 calls last year from Jefferson County clients, and we made 2,156 referrals. The top needs were for utility assistance. That made up 30% of the calls from that county. For housing, that made up 19% of the calls received. And for clothing, personal, and household made up 8% of the calls. Total unmet needs were for utilities, clothing, personal household, and housing. Top zip codes where the calls were coming from: Steubenville, 43952, Wintersville, 43953, Toronto, 43964, Mingo Junction, 43938, Dillondale, Dunglen, Newton, 43917. Any questions about Jefferson County? Oh, whoops, I forgot. The top agency referrals that we made in Jefferson County were for two: Jefferson County Community Action Council, Goodwill Industries of Greater Cleveland and East Central Ohio, Salvation Army Jefferson County, and Jefferson County Department of Job and Family Services, Samaritan House. Any questions? Okay. Carroll County. The population there is 28,000 people, and it's 399 square miles large. Carroll County is primarily a rural area. Carrollton is the county seat. The current percentage of population living in poverty there is 15.5%, or 4,403 people. The unemployment rate is currently 6.8%. Now, the economy has improved slightly due to fracking and drilling. It's also a very close-knit community. And just a bit of trivia, the county was named for Charles Carroll, who was the longest surviving signer of the Declaration of Independence. Now, one thing I wanted to mention about Carroll County that is not true of the other counties other than Stark, is that they have an emergency assistance program as well. And we administer that program every Thursday morning. An information and referral specialist will be on site in Carrollton at Job and Family Services meeting with emergency assistance clients. And we provide emergency assistance in that county for rent and mortgage payment assistance, utility assistance, and prescriptions and medical, much the same that we do in Stark County. So for Carroll County, for these services, again, all you would have to do is refer the client to call into 211 Monday through Friday after 8:30 a.m., and then we'll screen them and give them an appointment if they're eligible. Any questions about that? Okay, for 2014, we received 542 calls from Carroll County clients, and we made 795 referrals. The top needs presented, 27% accounted for utility needs, 22% were for housing needs, and 9% were for clothing, personal, and household needs. Now, the top unmet needs were housing, clothing, personal, household, and utilities. Top zip codes where calls came from were from Carrollton, 44615, Malvern, 44644, Minerva, 44657, Sherridsville, 44675, Delroy, 44620. Top agency referrals were made to United Way of Greater Stark County, and that is because we have two programs that are operated out of our main United Way office, and that is tax preparation assistance at no charge, and also they have a Ways to Work program whereby they provide low-interest loans to clients who otherwise would not be eligible through financial institutions. and we referred clients to Harketus Tri-County Community Action Organization, to Carroll County Department of Job and Family Services, to Goodwill Industries of Greater Cleveland and East Central Ohio, to the Salvation Army, Minerva, and to Loaves and Fishes Food Pantries.
I have a question.
Yes.
Back to Carroll County, when you say you have, is this an I&R specialist that goes out to the Job and Family Services and does the assessment or for a client for emergency needs?
She administers a program on site. So
okay.
If a client calls into 211 and we screen them and find them eligible, then we will set them up with an appointment with her on a Thursday morning.
Okay, so she's the one that administers it. You still do the screening?
Yes, but she's part of this call center.
Okay, and I have one other question. On your unmet needs, it says you have a housing in Carroll County. Is that for lack of a homeless shelter, or is that lack of people needing to, rent or find suitable housing that they can afford to rent?
Go ahead.
And like Stark County and the surrounding areas, you're eligible to receive help once in the 12-month period for your rent. So if somebody receives help with their rent in January and they call back in March to get help, then that would be an unmet need because they're not eligible to receive help again in January.
So it's not somebody looking for housing. It's basically they can't, that it's not rental assistance available.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Coshocton County. There's a population there of 37,000 people. It's 568 square miles large. Coshocton is the county seat. It's primarily a rural community. The percentage of the population living in poverty currently is 16.9%, or 6,157 people. The unemployment rate currently is 7.6%. We launched 211 services for Coshocton County in early June of this past year. So what you're looking at, the number that you're looking at reflects 6 months of calls coming in. So the total calls we received during that 6-month period were 466, and we made 612 referrals. The top needs were for housing, that made up 18% of the calls. Utilities made up 13% of the calls, and food and meals at 6%. The top unmet needs for that county were for housing, clothing, personal and household, transportation, utilities. The top zip codes from the calls coming in were from Coshocton, 43812, Warsaw, 43844, West Lafayette, 43845, New Bedford, 43824, and Newcomerstown, 43832. The top agency referrals were to Canohoco Ashland Community Action Commission, Coshocton County Department of Job and Family Services, Salvation Army, Coshocton, Jingle Networks, which have changed their name since to, I believe it's Marchex, and then Greater Coshocton Community Development Corporation. Okay, moving on to Washington County. There's a population there of 62,000 people, makes up 640 square miles. Marietta is the county seat, and this is, again, primarily a rural community. The percentage of population living in poverty at that county is currently 15.3%, or 9,124 people. The unemployment rate currently is 7%. We launched services for Washington County in late June of this past year. So again, you're seeing about 6 months worth of data here. Total calls then that we received during that time frame is 320. We made 585 referrals. The top needs from the calls we received, 27% of them accounted for housing needs, 18% accounted for utility needs, and 9% for food and meals. The top unmet needs were for housing, transportation, clothing, personal, household. The top zip codes for the calls came from Marietta, 45750, Belpre, 45714, Beverly, 45715, and Reinhard Mills, 45767. Okay, our final county, Harrison County, has a population of 16,000 people. It's 402 square miles. The county seat is Cadiz. It's primarily a rural area. The percentage of the population living in poverty is 18.4% currently, or 2,833 people. Unemployment rate is 7.3%. We launched, as I mentioned earlier, we launched 211 services for Harrison County in late October of this past year. So the numbers are very, very low, and we still feel we're in the process of ramping up that county. But so the numbers are going to remain lower because it's a smaller county. But the total calls we received during the 2 remaining months of 2014 were 36, and we made 52 referrals. Top needs from the calls received, 25% of the calls were for utilities needs, 19% for housing needs, 16% food and meals. The top unmet needs for Harrison County were clothing, personal, household, individual, family, and community support, utilities, food and meals. The top zip code for the calls coming in came from Cadiz, 43907, from Jewett, 43986, Sile, 43988, and Bowerstown, 43695. Top agency referrals were to Harketus Tri-County Community Action Organization, to the Salvation Army in Cadiz, to Cadiz Food Pantry, and Goodwill Industries of Greater Cleveland and East Central Ohio. Questions, comments?
I have a question. Does each of these counties and or I don't know if it's county-wise or city-wise, do they have adult protective agencies like Adult Protective Services,
Yes.
Mobile Crisis, their own individual, or is it just one for each county?
They all have their individual.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, is there anything of special note that is lacking in any of these counties? And like what I mean by that is, do any of them not have access to like a homeless shelter, or is there some glaring critical need that that we should be aware of in any of these counties?
No, most of the counties have everything from the homeless shelters to domestic violence shelters. So they have those types of things covered. What you will notice is if you're looking for rent assistance for Stark County, you're going to have 4 or 5 different programs that will be able to help these people. But if you pull up rent assistance for one of the smaller counties, such as Carroll or Harrison, there may only be one program to help them. So they don't have quite as much resources as we have in Stark, but there's a little something in there for everybody.
Okay,
You're just
great.
going to
Thank
have
you.
a lot more. You're just going to have a lot more to choose from when you're dealing with Stark, because since it is a bigger population, there's more resources to help people here.
Okay, are there any more questions? Okay, if not, then at this point I'm going to turn it over to Marion and Nikki, and they're going to take you through the rest of this training.
This is Marion. I'm going to start with general information. After Nikki pulls up the screen so you guys can see what we do. Ready? Mm-hmm. Okay, as you already know, United Way of Greater Stark County currently provides information and referral services to the following counties: Stark, Tuscarawas, Harrison, Jefferson, Coshocton, Washington, and Carroll. The greeting for a UWSC call is, "Thank you for calling United Ways 211. This is Marion. How may I help you?"
And how we end a phone call is we ask them if they need any further information. And if they say no, we say, "Thank you for calling United Ways 211. If you need any other information, please feel free to call us back. We are here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week."
In ReferNet, UWSC is set up so that page 1, the search page, is displayed first when the specialist clicks the Start New Contact button. Make sure the data link has system-wide resources selected. We start by entering the zip code, age, and gender for the person needing assistance. Except for when a caller is inquiring about services for children, the child's age should not be entered. When a parent's calling about the child, we generally just use the adult's age. For all contacts other than crisis call, incomplete or inappropriate call, and escape call, the age, gender, and zip code must be selected on page 1, the search page. On page 3, the data page, the How Did You Hear First of 211, contact data must have at least one selection. Searches can be narrowed by using condition filters. Search with day of service filter when searching for soup kitchens, food pantries, and general clothing provision. The day of search filter can also be used for special events. Click the Filters button, highlight the appropriate filters, click the Add button, and click OK. And continue with your service search form from the Service Search Information form. After choosing the filters, the button will say Filters Set. In order to turn off the filters, click that button and say yes to clear the selected filters. If you wish to add more filters, click on No, and you will be able to select more. For example, if somebody calls in and you use the search filter for a food pantry because they want to go on Tuesday, and after you give them that information, they say, "Hey, can I have assistance for rent?" If you do not clear that search filter, the appropriate information will not come up for rent assistance. Match list notes are used by UWSC, so the cost specialist may not need to open and review the detailed service information page to determine whether or not a particular resource will be appropriate referral. When in doubt, click the service name, which shows the detailed information page. Service and site detail are for more details about the service. If a referral was made, click on Save Referral. If a referral was not made but other information was requested by the caller, such as the caller wanted to know a phone number for a particular food pantry, and the call specialist searched for the program by taxonomy term, not by name, click on Save Reason and select Reason for Site Information and save. Although it has select all that apply, only make one selection using information only. When more than one type of information was requested and provided, the caller wanted a phone number and an address, just select information only. When searching by name of agency or program, please note that street, road, avenue, boulevard, and drive are spelled out. Number streets from 1st through 9th are spelled out. Northeast, northwest, southeast, and southwest are abbreviated. North, south, east, and west are spelled out. On the matched list of services each agency, program, or site offers is shown. This is because we search on a name, not a service. The specialist should ask the inquirer what services they are looking for so they may give the most appropriate phone number and or information. Double-click and then check the detail and then click on Save Referral. For instance, if you put in the name Jobs and Family Services, you're going to get a whole list of numbers because they have so many different departments. So we just kind of, ask in general, are you calling Child Protective Services, or do you want the food stamp department? Then that way we can give them the correct number to whichever department they want in that program. When you click on Save Referral, you will get this box. If a referral was made, click on a service that is listed. Please note there may be more than one service listed. Select all that apply and save. Follow the prompts provided. If a referral was not made, do not select a service for referral. Select a reason for site information and save. Although it has select all that apply, only make one selection using information only when more than one type of information was requested and provided, such as, once again, if they wanted a phone number and address, just use information only. A contact must be associated with one or more reasons, outcomes, or actions. These actions are made referrals, recorded unmet needs, reason for contact. A reason for contact is an action such as a phone number request or general information. Each contact must be ended by recording the end result. Either referrals were made from the database, the caller's needs were unmet, they were given an out-of-database referral, or some other action was taken. At least one of these actions must be recorded during the contact process. If no referrals or unmet needs were saved during the transaction, the reason for contact window is displayed. Select the appropriate reasons for contact and click the Save Reasons Contact button. The most reasons for contacts are general information only. This must be selected when general information is given and there are no unmet needs, no referral, or no service requested logged. ReferNet will not allow the contact to close without a reason for contact selected. Inappropriate repeat hang-up calls, obscene callers call, or who call frequently for conversation, not information or referral services, wrong numbers, or hang-up phantom calls, calls that arrive at an INR special service but have no real person at the other end. An incomplete INR call, the call is ended before usable referral information is given.
Okay, I have a question. Can you go back to that screen? Yeah, okay. So can you give me an example of when you would advocate for somebody but not record a referral in Refer?
Okay, we don't get too many after-hour calls for advocacy. That would most likely be, like I've done it a couple times, somebody would call me and tell me like they need emergency assistance. I'd get permission from them, and I'd call, say, Catholic Charities to get them an appointment for a food pantry because they can't make it to this food pantry at this time, but they need food for their 3 kids or something like that. I would call Catholic Charities.
But why wouldn't you save that as a referral to Catholic Charities? If you're, I mean, you are referring to Catholic Charities.
Because we're calling on the client's behalf. We have a really close-knit relationship with like Catholic Charities, the Salvation Army, the YWCA, Community Services. We all work very closely together, and say the Salvation Army doesn't have any appointments. They'll call us, see if we have any appointments, and advocate for the client to get them an appointment with us. So that's where we use the Advocacy Act.
So in the after hours, we probably wouldn't use that at all.
No.
No.
Okay.
I have a question. If it does come up, can we just say refer to you in the morning?
Yes.
Yes, that's exactly what we want you to do, honey.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay, got it.
Any other questions about that? Okay.
Okay, that one's done. Okay. Contact types. UWSC has the following contact types in ReferNet. Some of the contact types will never be used for an after-hour call. And these, once again, if you should get something with advocacy, just to, remind you again, just to have them call us after 8:30, Monday through Friday. But what we deem as an advocacy call is the occasional need for an INR specialist to directly intervene to help a specific caller in a certain situation. It occurs when one or more additional calls are made on the behalf because either the critical nature of the situation or the circumstances of the caller means that extra help should be offered in order to make sure the caller gets the information and or help they need. Advocacy requires the caller to provide their first name and phone number and grant the INR specialist permission to make necessary calls. Advocacy calls would be properly documented in ReferNet as a contact type. A notation that permission was requested and granted should be included in the contact notes as well as an explanation of the intervention and advocacy done on the client's behalf. Assessment with referral. The assessment and referral process consists of active listening and effective questioning to determine the needs of the caller, clarifying the needs, identifying appropriate resources, and making referrals to organizations capable of meeting those needs and providing enough information about each organization to help the caller make an informed choice. In situations where services are unavailable, the INR service engages in problem solving to help the caller identify alternative strategies. Assistance without referral, selected when general information is given, also selected when the INR specialist provides requested information, phone number, and other types of assistance, but makes no referrals or in situations where services are unavailable and an unmet need is recorded, or when the INR specialist engages in problem solving to help the caller identify alternative sources of support, family members, their church. Incomplete or inappropriate calls is when a call is ended before referral information is given. Obscene callers are callers who frequently call for conversation and not information and referral services. An escape call is when the contact was started in error. Selecting escape call deletes all saved information for the contact, including referrals, client information, data forms, notes, and contact data. Escape calls are deleted. Contact markers. A contact marker really needs to be checked. Most of the contact markers will never be used for an after-hours call. However, when appropriate, check any contact markers that apply. A contact marker can be linked to a data form. If the marker is linked, clicking it displays a contact data form, which is used to gather more data about the call. At this time, there are not any contact markers linked to a data form that would be used for after-hour calls. USWC has two.
What about the? I have a question. What about for the language line? What if we had somebody calling?
And then you would use the contact marker.
Okay.
And then you would just check. Do you want to pull that up and show her?
That.
Yes. We'll have Nikki show you exactly what it looks like. She'll
Okay,
pull it
thank you.
up. Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, real quick question. I'm assuming we're using our own language line that we normally use here?
That will be just fine, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Right here are the contact markers that we use, and we do have one for the language line right here. You would just click that, and then nothing would pop up. You want to have to do a data form. Currently, the only one that we do use a data form for is a Goodwill walk-in. If you click that, then you see that the screen pops up, but you will not have to do anything with this. So as of right now,
The only one that I can see, if somebody calls at night, maybe they would use the language line. That's about the only one that you might happen at nighttime.
well, the language line, the text referral, or the email referral, but we'll go over that later.
Yes. Okay. Is there any more questions? Okay. USWC has two. How did you hear first of two?
Hold on a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thinking of.
Yeah. Give me 1 second here. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I was ready to go. You might have should have just left it up because you could have showed them how did you hear first.
Okay.
There you go. Okay. USWC has two How Did You Hear of 211 contact data list found on the right side of the screen. At least one selection must be made for all contacts other than crisis call, incomplete or inappropriate call, and escape calls. And then you just select the appropriate. That's okay. Then you just select appropriate answers for how did you hear. So generally, when we end our call, we ask them, how did you hear about 211? And this is the selection we have over here. Most people will tell you a family friend, a previous caller, I've already known about it. Jobs and Family Service told me about it. Show them the special circumstances.
So if someone says the Jobs and Family Services referred them to call 211, we would click on Other Agency and then see list below and click on JFS Children's Services. If someone says, oh, Red Cross told me to give you a call, we would click right here on Other Agency Not Listed and just type in Red Cross. And then just click OK, and then it appears over here on the side of the box. Okay, now we will be going over disaster calls. Give me 1 second here.
You've mentioned inappropriate calls before. Do you receive a lot of those just because you've mentioned it several times?
Some days are better than others, but yeah, sometimes we do.
Okay. Thank you.
And sometimes they're not, sometimes it's just people wanting to talk. We get a lot of the older population that's lonely, and they just want to call into 211 and ask about how the weather is and, you know, things like that. So we get quite a few of those, yes.
I have a question. Do you have a warm line in this county? Like a mental health line or a line where people can just talk to somebody?
We refer them to the crisis center. We have a crisis center that we can refer them to.
You mean like suicide? That's more, so you refer them more to like your mobile crisis?
Yes, and we do have suicide prevention lines that they can call. Most of the time, though, they're not really mental health. They're just lonely, and they really don't have suicidal thoughts. So
yeah, that's what I'm asking. You don't have like what we have here is a warm line where people who, whether it's a mental condition or they just want to talk to somebody about anything.
see, that would be nice. No, we do not have anything like that. Okay. We have a couple of the senior programs that are starting companionship programs where they're linking them with other seniors so that they have somebody to talk to, but that's as far as we've gotten here so far.
And you don't have a telephone reassurance for the elderly?
No.
Okay. And during 2014, we had 393 calls for that whole year that were incomplete or inappropriate.
And also something else that might fall under the incomplete, inappropriate calls is if someone calls in and they give you their zip code, but then you lose the call, that would fall under an incomplete call because no referral or anything was given out. So that's another reason for an inappropriate, incomplete call. So, you know, just a lot of different factors play into that one.
And with the phone calls, when we first put the information in, the zip code and the age, we do not ask if somebody's male or female. We just use our best judgment and pick. That way we don't offend anybody.
What about for shelters?
Like homeless shelters?
What about shelters? Because I mean, in our county, most of our counties are separated by men or women.
Okay, yeah. We have the YWCA for women and the Refuge of Hope for men.
And if you don't know that it's a man or woman, at that point I could say, what kind of shelter are you looking for? And just kind of try to go through it and figure it out without maybe asking, if that makes any sense. And sometimes you do just have to ask because you just can't tell.
But also with that, in Stark County, we have the homeless hotline. And if somebody calls in and says that they're looking for a homeless shelter, we refer them to the homeless hotline because they keep track of all of the openings in the shelters, and that's how you get placed into a shelter. So therefore, even if we couldn't tell if it was a male or female, the homeless hotline would ask those questions.
And
I have a question on that. Go ahead. The homeless hotline. So, say a person calls in and they say I'm homeless, me and my children. You just give them that homeless hotline. It's 24 hours.
Yes.
Okay. Can you pull that up and in a call and show it to me?
Yeah. Okay, all you would have to do is type in homeless. Okay, and it would be under homeless shelter.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the mental health and recovery services, Stark County Homeless Hotline, and it's 330-452-4363.
Okay. Now, when you go back to the taxonomy, all the I can't see it because it's still got the you still got that open. It's after the homeless shelters, like it says, homeless shelters, adults and disabilities, ex-offenders, they wouldn't go, would they qualify there too?
Yes. Anybody who calls in for Stark County, you refer them to the homeless hotline. And that's also where they get their homeless certificate. So if anybody would say, I need a homeless certificate, the homeless hotline is where you would refer them. Now for, all of our other counties, we have their direct phone numbers to the homeless shelters.
So you would give them their direct number, but Stark County just goes through the shelter. And is this, even if it's domestic violence, same thing?
Domestic violence in Stark County, we have a hotline for them too.
Is there? You don't look it up. You don't look it up under. Okay. You have to go by name search. There's no taxonomy.
No, You can put in domestic violence and it'll come up.
Okay.
I'm sorry. This is just the way I'm used to looking for it.
Okay.
But, if somebody calls in and asks for the domestic violence hotline in Stark County, you can put in domestic violence and it'll pop up, or you can just put in domestic and then it'll pop up. But you give them the hotline number, and that's a 24-hour service also. And then for any of our other counties, you do the same thing.
Okay.
Can you show me what comes up when you put in hotline?
Domestic violence, mental health hotlines.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on that one? Okay, now we're going to go over the disaster calls. Okay, a disaster is defined as a large-scale emergency that disrupts the normal functioning of a community. Some examples are fires, floods, hurricanes, earthquakes, tornadoes, snowstorms, explosions, and other large-scale natural or human origins. We ask that you log all potential disaster calls with an appropriate contact type. And the contact type that you would most likely be using would just be disaster. Some weather situations that may qualify as a disaster call would be like the extremely hot or cold temperatures, the wind chill, major snow, ice, and windstorms. Some other referrals, information requested, provided, or unmet needs, like if someone would call in and ask for school closures, mass care shelters, extreme heat cooling centers, warming centers, any services or programs that has the word disaster in it, even say it happened 3 months ago, and they're calling in to find out about personal disaster loans or disaster relief services, that would still be considered a disaster call even though it happened 3 months ago. Now, an exception to this is, say, a family's house caught on fire and it burned down. That wouldn't be a disaster, but if an apartment complex caught on fire and everybody in that apartment complex was displaced, then that would be a disaster. Any questions about that? Okay, now we're going to go on to 911.
I'm sorry, I have a question.
Okay.
On the disaster call, how do we know about a disaster? During the day, do you send out emails, or how would I know during the day that there was an explosion and I work in the evening? I mean, other than a caller calling me and telling me. Do you send out any type of transmittals or any type of anything to notify us that there is a disaster, or if there is a disaster in the evening hours, do we email you? How does that go?
Okay, yeah. Usually during the day, you know, if we hear of like a heating center or cooling center, we put them in ASAP. And then our other database specialist usually sends out an email letting everybody know. So she would send it to our contact there, and then they would pass that information along.
Okay.
That would go off to Matt.
Okay.
Okay, Stark County's 911 service protocol. There are times when 211 is called for emergencies instead of 911. Recognizing emergencies is important. When the caller asks for the number to a domestic violence hotline or a crisis hotline, the call specialist should ask the caller if they are in immediate danger. If the caller is in immediate danger relating to domestic violence or suicide, 911 should be called directly to the caller's location. Some of the examples of warning signs when you're talking to a client might, tell you that they're feeling hopeless or helpless or worthless, talking about life's just not worth living anymore. Somebody that might be in an abusive relationship might reveal to you that their significant other keeps them isolated and they have no family support. These are things to just think about if you get any of these calls, so that you can give them the correct information and direct them to somebody that could possibly help them get out of this situation. The next few pages are a bunch of the numbers for the police and the sheriffs for our counties. This is in ReferNet, so you guys can pull this up for all of the counties in case you do need to connect them to the sheriff or the police in their local area. We use a lethality assessment, and it's just a tool that can be used for a caller that may be suicidal.
Okay. A crisis call is this
where, I'm sorry, and where is the lethality? Is that at all in Refer?
No.
Okay. Because I think we're trying to get that to be universal. Akron has something that's really quite similar to yours. And I just really wanted to mention it so it's on the tape for the people that will be viewing this that couldn't attend these two sessions today, and let everybody here know that we really like Akron's and probably going to populate all of our Cuyahoga counties partnerships with that data field. So it'll be almost identical to what we were just looking at.
So is this something we're filling out, or are we just reading using as an assessment tool when we get a call?
I think we're going to fill it out. I think Stark would need to answer for themselves, but I know from our perspective at the Greater Cleveland 211, we're thinking of having everyone fill it out.
Right now, we just use it as a tool. Sometimes when a crisis call comes in, if somebody's in immediate danger, they're not going to want to answer your questions. So we just try to fill it out as best as we can to know that they are in danger. But it might be something that we can think about utilizing in the future ourselves.
Any other questions on that? Okay. A crisis call is defined as a caller in acute emotional distress if they feel to be in a life-threatening situation or is a danger to themselves or others, is hysterical, frightened, or otherwise unable to cope with a problem that requires immediate action. The objective of a crisis call is to diffuse the critical nature of the situation and connect them with a crisis intervention hotline as quickly as possible. We require all crisis calls to have a follow-up scheduled. And you can schedule a follow-up during any time of a crisis call, and I'll go over that with you now. Okay, so if you have a crisis call, and while you're on the phone with them, you can do the follow-up. You come up here to follow-up. Just click on that. You'd enter the client's name, their phone number, and then you would do it for the next day. So today's Friday. I'm just going to go ahead and do it for Monday. You would ask the caller what a good time would be to contact them back. And then for the follow-up type, you would select crisis. And then you would assign the call to Barb. Barb is our other resource specialist who's not with us here today, but you would, Barb Sarback, I'm sorry. You would assign the call to her, and then she would assign it to someone else here in the call center. And over here under follow-up notes, you would put in any information that you thought would be essential to the person calling them back, and then you would save it. And then all of this information that was up here comes down here to the box. So then you would just close out of here, and the follow-up would be saved. Now, we here in Stark County, for all of our 8 counties, every fourth phone call, you are prompted to do a follow-up. But say the call that you're prompted to do the follow-up on just wants an agency's phone number. You want to do a follow-up with that call, so you would end that contact without doing a follow-up. But your next call, you will try to schedule the follow-up.
Because you're going to keep getting it.
Because if you don't, you keep getting the prompt until you actually schedule the follow-up. So, like I said, if the call that you get, the prompt is for general information, of course you want to do a follow-up for that. But say the next call is for another general information call, you want to do it for that one. But say 3 calls in, you finally get a call for run assistance, then that's when you would schedule the follow-up. Okay? Okay, any questions on that?
I had one question. Why do you do that?
Why do we do the follow-ups?
No, why every 4 calls you do a follow-up if it's just general information?
No, you wouldn't do a follow-up. Our system prompts you whenever you click on Start a New Contact. If it's, say, time for a follow-up, the system will prompt you and say, please schedule a follow-up. But you're not going to schedule a follow-up for someone who's just calling and asking for a phone number to an agency. So if the next caller calls and asks for run assistance, then you definitely want to do a follow-up. That way we can see if that client's getting the assistance that they need. Or if they say we refer them to Catholic Charities and they didn't get the help that they needed, and we call back to do that follow-up, maybe we can provide them with some different information to another agency that may be able to assist them.
Okay, I have a question. I'm concerned about remembering the name, because I don't work the after-hours shifts too often, and I'm just concerned about remembering the name of the staff person that we save the referrals to, the follow-ups to. Is there any way that we can kind of, I don't know, put it in an asterisk or something so that we we know to look for that and we're alerted for that, that they go to Barb?
Definitely. We will talk to Barb when she comes back. She'll be back next week, and we'll see what we can set up in the system for you.
Okay, thank
That
you.
way you can just look for something and you know it's her. That way you don't have to go through all of our names and remember hers.
Okay, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions about this part? Okay, now we're going to go on to emailing and texting. Whenever we email and text, there's a couple different ways we can email. The first way, you can make referrals. I'm just going to go ahead and click on a couple here. And then you can come down here to where it says Review Referral List. Click on that. Click on Preview. And then Export Options. You would select Email. Now, for you guys, since we have two databases, we have one for Stark County, which covers Stark, Carroll, Jefferson, Coshocton, Stark, Carroll, Jefferson, Coshocton, and Washington. You would just select the general Stark County. And then if it was for like Tusk or Harrison, you would select the general Tusk or Harrison email. So it is kind of labeled here, you know, Stark and then Tusk and Harrison. So you would just click that, enter the email address, and then hit send. And then you'll get a little box telling you that your message has been sent. That's one way of doing it. The second way of doing it is you can come up here to contact type, or contact activity, I'm sorry. Click on that, print referrals, and then again it would be export options, email, and then you do the same thing. Just general Tusk, enter the email address, send, you'll get the message, and then just close it. Another way you can do it is if you click on the contact, click on the agency, send email, and then again it would be the general Stark or Tusk, email address, send, you'd get the message, and then you would close it. Now if you were to text the referral, you would click on the agency, click on send a text. You would have to ask the caller who their provider was. And then you type in the phone number. Send. Yes, you want to send it. And then you get the message that your message has been sent. And then you would just close out of there. Make sure you save referral. And then that is where the contact markers would come in. If you were to text the information, you'd come over here, click on text, or if you emailed it, emailed referral list to caller. And if somebody asked you if you could print something out and send it to them, that's another time you would refer them to call back at 8:30, and then we could assist them with that.
I have a question. What is this just by request of the client, or what would be the reason we would text or email a client?
A lot of our callers call while they are driving. And of course we don't want them writing while they're trying to drive. So we will ask them, well, do you want us to text it to you? Do you want us to email it to you? So that would help them out, and it would make us feel 100 times better knowing that they're not trying to write something down while they are driving their vehicles. Any other questions about that? Okay. One other thing that we want to go over, some of the programs that we have in our database. Okay, here we go. Okay. So, some of the programs that we have here in Stark County in our database you may not be familiar with. The first one I want to go over, let me get to it here, is FreeCycle. A lot of people that call in here, they would like to receive free appliances, free furniture, things like that. So we do not have very many agencies that provide those services. So we would search under general furniture provision, general appliance provision, you know, different things like that. And we only have 2 agencies that I'm aware of that may be able to help a client with furniture. The first one would be Mighty Winds, but you're put on a waiting list until they get those items. The other program we have is through the YWCA, but you have to be homeless and have a homeless certificate going into an apartment to qualify for that program. So that's where FreeCycle comes in. It's basically just a website where, you know, you can tell the client to go to, and then they just put in a little description like, I'm in search of a furniture due to a fire, due to whatever. And then other people get on the site and they're like, well, I have a couch. If this person can use it, it's theirs for free. So it's just a kind of a share site where people trying to get rid of things go on there to help people that need things. Okay. And then the next program I'd like to go over is the Habitat for Humanity Restore. Okay, so like I said, we don't have very many agencies that help with furniture. So when we're searching for general furniture provision, only one place is going to come up, and that's Mighty Winds. If we search for general appliance provision, nothing's going to come up. So therefore, we tell the client, we can refer you to the Habitat for Humanity Restore, but you're going to have to pay for it, but it's going to be at a lower cost than what you would pay for, say, at Value City Furniture or Sears or someplace like that. So we would look under Thrift Shop for this one. Let me scroll up here. And you can see right here that we have it under low-cost building supply materials and thrift shops for displaying thrift shops, appliances, and furniture. Also, the stockpile is the same kind of, is almost exactly like the Habitat for Humanity Restore, where you can purchase those items at a discounted rate. Okay. And just like we mentioned earlier, if somebody in Stark County calls in and says, I am homeless, I have no place to go, we refer them here to the homeless hotline like we went over earlier. This is just kind of some information about it. The phone number for them to call. This is also the number that they call for the homeless certificate. And I also wanted to mention that we do have the Haven of Rest in our database. They are in Summit County, but we can refer residents from Stark County to go up there. So we'd give them the phone number here for the Haven of Rest. They have a women and single-parent family building, and they have a men's shelter. So there's a couple different phone numbers for them to call. So then we just give them the phone number, and they would have to talk to the social worker up there because they are out of the county. So if they're not able to get into a homeless shelter in Canton, maybe they can go to the one in Akron. Any questions?
Yeah, I actually have one. Did I see that where for the taxonomy you have to use general furniture and general appliance? You can't just put in furniture or appliances to get it to populate?
No, we use the term general furniture provision.
So we have to write out or type in general to make it work?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Any other questions?
Actually, I have one. What exactly does the homeless certificate do? What is that just their way of keeping track of the homeless individuals in the county, or what does it provide them with?
Okay, a homeless certificate, it does give them a homeless number, and that helps keep track of the homeless in the area. And then if you have a homeless certificate, like I said, it helps you, like our Stark Metropolitan, you can take that there, and they kind of get the homeless off the street sooner than...
And they provide extra help for those clients. If you have one of those homeless certificates and you don't, it can get you into the turnaround outreach to get a haircut. It can get you into the YMCA for a shower because they have shower facilities for the homeless. So that certificate can help with a lot of different little things for them in the community just to try to make their life a little bit easier.
Okay, and they need that certificate then to be able to access those programs?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And then, like the YWCA, their furniture program, you have to have that homeless certificate in order to receive help with furniture and things like that.
Are there any other questions? If there aren't, then I think we've pretty much used up the hour-and-a-half time frame that we were allotted.
Right on time.
Yeah.
Just a minute over. Perfect. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you once
All right.
again and your staff very, very much.
You're
Extremely
very
helpful
welcome.
to get us acclimated.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.